take into consideration all these features while taking the history of presenting illness. And then T stands for timing. In the Socrates, the T stands for timing. So ask about when was the onset, the time, okay, the time, exact time you document it, and check if it is like persistent pain or intermittent pain. That is, if the patient is having pain all the while, or if there is any exacerbation, like the pain, baseline pain is always present, but suddenly the severity increases and decreases. So you must document the nature of the pain while asking for the time. And if it is like exacerbating and then decreasing, increasing, decreasing, then in this fashion you need to ask the duration of the exacerbation and the duration of minimal pain, you know. So when the patient is telling like I always have pain, but then at certain point the pain is increasing to the maximum that I cannot bear it, but then later it again goes back to the minimal pain, there's no pain free period, but then there is exacerbation and decrease in the pain. So in these cases you need to ask about the duration of exacerbation and the duration of baseline pain, and then ask the exacerbating and the relieving factors. So E stands for exacerbating factors. Exacerbating factors means what makes the pain more worse. Just ask the patient, what are the activities that make the pain worse. Some in our case of acute appendicitis, patients usually say like walking makes it worse, or any sort of movement makes it worse, and they just want to be in a stationary position because of the pain. So this is limiting their lifestyle, you know. So you need to ask about the exacerbating factors, and relieving factors I usually ask if doing something makes the pain less or makes the pain feel better. So some patients say just taking rest, like lying down, makes it feel better. Some patients say I took paracetamol or Panadol, drugs like this with painkillers, basically they took painkillers and felt better. So ask about what made the pain feel better. Sometimes they might not be a relieving factor as well. And then next thing to ask is severity. So severity is basically the pain scale, just the pain scale. Tell them from 0 to 10, 0 being no pain at all and 10 being the most severe pain they can feel. How would they grade their pain? Usually it's difficult for patients who are, you know, if they are not from an urban area and they find it hard to tell. So describe, you know, help them to give an answer for your question. So after the severity you need to ask about past so this is the basically this was the history of presenting illness. And then next thing we need to ask is about the past medical history, which is did they have any. First thing is always ask about the common conditions, okay. So most of the patients these days, I think, I don't know, because of the lifestyle or what, every single patient mostly has this diabetes, hypertension and dyslipidemia. It's like most of the patients in their like third decades to fourth decades, everyone has this problem. So first thing is rule out that. Second thing is ask for any past admissions into the hospital because of any other medical conditions or any previous surgeries they had, any medical problem basically. And then ask for any history of cancer in them itself, like sometimes the patient might be hesitant to tell. And then even you have to rule out the high risk behavior, uh, like if the patient is, you know, susceptible to sexually transmitted infections or all those, you need to rule out. And then ask for the family history as well. You need to ask about diabetes, hypertension and dyslipidemia. Ask the history of cancer in the patients. Ask any other genetic diseases running in the family, as well as you need to ask the current patient's presentation, like patient is presented with abdominal pain, this similar episode occurred to anyone else in the family, you know. Some usually acute appendicitis might not have a genetical predisposition, but then certain diseases like cancer and asthma, all those things might have genetic predisposition, like even their sisters or mother or father, someone might have in the family. So after asking those questions, you need to jump to the social history. Social history plays a very important role both in surgical and medical history. First thing is asking for smoking. So once you ask make sure the patient is being comfortable with you to be honest enough, you know. Mostly patients don't lie, but then sometimes you need to consider that the information you are getting might not be 100% true, you know. So ask if the patient is smoking, and if the patient is smoking, ask since what age he has been smoking, because it is really shocking and surprising. I've seen patients telling ever since 6 years old, 7 years old they've started smoking, looking at their parent or some bad influence or peer pressure, you know. So never assume if the patient is a young person, you know, like sometimes acute appendicitis can even occur as young as 12-year-old kid. So in such a kid also, never think like no need to ask smoking history, alcohol history, because it's really shocking, guys. It can happen. So ask them if they are smoking, and ever since what age they have been smoking, how many cigarettes per day, and then calculate the pack years. So using this formula you have to calculate the pack years, and what have they been smoking. It's not always the, you know, the commercial cigarette. There are other traditional BDs and cigars and all that. So ask even that, is there any tobacco or it's just nicotine. Ask those things. And then next thing is about drinking, so alcohol consumption. So one thing about drinking, our professors always say is never say my patient is an alcoholic or non-alcoholic. Always mention as an alcohol consumer or non-alcohol consumer, because alcoholic can sometimes technically mean an alcohol addict, you know. So not every alcohol consumer is addicted to it. Some just, you know, like do social drinking or things like that. So it's very important to be very clear with what you're telling. Okay, so alcohol consumption, ask how frequently do they drink, you know, in a week how many times, or if they are a daily drinker, in a day how many times. And then check if they are addicted, you know, like signs of addiction, like do they have tremors if they don't drink, they can't start their day without drinking, or sometimes addicts themselves know they are addicted to alcohol, so they themselves might even say. So after that you have to ask what is the alcohol type they are drinking, whether it's a wine or beer or whiskey or rum, because all these have different percentage of alcohol in it. And it is important to know this because you need to calculate the units, how much units of alcohol consumption the person is having. For example, the beer has the least alcohol percentage of 3.5%, whereas a whiskey or brandy might have as high as 40%. So you must be able to calculate the units of alcohol. The normal, I think the threshold, yeah, the threshold of alcohol consumption nowadays is both male and female is 14 units. And after that you need to when a person says that, you know, I just drink on occasions, festive drinking. So when this festive drinking can mean so many things for each individual. Ask them festive drinking means what. Okay, like some people say I just drink on Christmas and New Year. Some people can assume every Sunday as a festival, you know, for them every Sunday they meet up their friends and have drinking. So you have to verify as what festive drinking they exactly mean, and do they binge drinking. Like sometimes they can say I just start drinking and I don't know how much I drank, you know, to the extent. So it's important to document even that. And then once smoking and drinking is over, ask about any illicit drug use, if they are abusing any drugs. Sometimes even medical drugs, you know, for medical reasons the drugs are prescribed, but these patients abuse even those. So ask about any drug abuse which is being happening. And then ask about the occupation of the patient, as what the patient has been working, whether teacher, doctor. Certain occupations have a higher predisposition, play a significant role in surgery, because like things like farming, you know, can be predisposed to melioidosis and parasitic infections, all that. So it's very important to ask for the occupation of the patient, and then ask for the living conditions of the patient, where the patient is living. Like ask them to describe their house, like it's a double story house with or a terrace house or a long house or an apartment. So where they have been living, do they have clean water supply, plays a very important role, guys, because here sometimes in certain villages and places like that people end up consuming river water which is laden with parasites. So if the patient is consuming river water, ask them, do they boil the water and drink, or some patients even say they drink rainwater, you know. It's not like technical rainwater harvesting, but they catch the rainwater and consume it. So ask them, even in that case, do they boil it or not before consumption. And then ask them about their family. Are they married? Ask them for the marital status, how many kids they have, are they supportive with the patient's condition, any other community support do they have, and all that, because it really plays an important role in management, especially post-surgery management, if the patient has a supportive family or not. And then another thing for especially in surgery, especially if they are living in not so well developed areas, you need to ask them, do they have history of jungle trekking and river swimming. It is very important, because to rule out leptospirosis, where, you know, patient might end up having contact with the rat urine. So you need to ask them jungle trekking and river swimming, and history of previous travel, like recent travel to any epidemic or pandemic areas. So ask about the history of recent travel. And then next thing, after the social history is done, you need to ask about the drug history and allergic history. Drug history involves both the drugs which patient has been taking for ongoing condition, like if the patient is diabetic, he has his regular drugs. Plus you need to know about, important thing is knowing about antihypertensives and antiplatelet drugs, especially if the patient has been admitted 1 day prior to surgery. Antiplatelet drugs must be stopped before surgery. And then you must ask about allergies. Allergies can be both to drugs as well as contrast medium, as well as it can even be for this food items, like some are allergic to seafood, allergic to eggs, peanuts. Ask them about that as well. And then consumption of any traditional medications, because sometimes these traditional medications are not doing the right thing, they have the steroids and all that. So ask them always about any traditional medications that they have consumed for any other condition or even for the presenting complaint. And then the last thing is investigations, any other investigations that have been done before this for the particular condition they have been admitted for. Sometimes it's the patient's fourth admission, they have already have done so many x-rays and endoscopy, OGTS. So ask them if they have previously done those, so that you can have a look at the results. You can be able to, it can be very helpful for you to form a differential diagnosis if you look at these things. And last but not the least, you have to look at if the patient is having a medical book, previous of their previous history of medical illnesses. Have a look through it, because sometimes sadly not every patient is honest. Sometimes they might end up telling you so many things which are completely unrelated to what they are actually facing. And this can be very very misleading, especially it gets dangerous. From my personal experience, I'm telling, they tell you all this, and then when the professor comes, they change it. They tell you completely different thing in front of the professor, and you're like so lost. What did they tell me and what they're telling in front of the professor? So sometimes you can get into trouble this way. So always confirm what you're asking the patient, and then form differential diagnosis in your mind while asking all those questions. Because history taking is not just a Q&A sessions where you just ask the patient about these things and then you just document it and present it to the doctor. When each thing when you're asking, it must be going on in your mind as, oh, what should be the reason for this particular presentation, like that. You must be able to come up with differential diagnosis at the end of the end of the history taking. At least 5 differential diagnoses you must have. For example, in our case, since it is acute appendicitis, you can give differential diagnosis as other conditions which can present with acute abdomen, like acute pancreatitis or perforated intestinal obstruction, or any other if there was a trauma, you can even mention that, or any other inflammatory conditions. All this you must mention as differential diagnosis. And one more thing you need to take in note is, if it is a female patient, you must do the gynec review. Send the patient for gyne review, because right iliac fossa pain can even be because of ectopic pregnancy, ruptured ectopic pregnancy, or twisted ovarian cyst and all this. So for every female patient there should be a gynec review. And while asking the patient's identification in a female patient, you must mention about when was their last menstrual period, when was their menarche or menopause, and if the what is the parasity of the patient, like parity of the patient, how many kids they have. And then if their kids are all alive, was it a normal delivery or normal or was it C-section. The small gyne history you must take while asking the patient identification itself for a female patient. So this was pretty much everything, guys. The thing is, always verify, never completely believe. And certain things when the patient say like I don't drink alcohol, it might not be true. So you must while presenting your case, always tell as the patient claims to be a non-alcohol consumer. Never say patient is a non-alcohol consumer, because things what you say can matter so much. It's just the 2 words of English, but then you can completely change the meaning. So certain things which you are not yet confirmed about, these things can't be confirmed without investigations. So you have to tell as patient claimed these things. Okay, it's not like you're confirmly telling all this. So pretty much that's it, guys. This is for acute appendicitis, or in general the remaining part is, except for the HOPI, the other stuff is common for all the most of the surgical conditions, like so associated symptoms and social history, family history, even the past medical history. All this is similar for all the other surgical conditions. However, only the HOPI part changes for every condition. Okay, that's pretty much. Thank you so much.